time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now. In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles in St. Louis, the St. Louis Park District agrees to allow Muslim families to remove their children from learning about the LGBT community in a school-approved curriculum. And because Muslims do not agree with the lifestyle choice of homosexuality, we as Muslim parents and Muslims must not allow our children to go through a curriculum as such that promotes that lifestyle to Muslim children. And so out of respect to Muslims' religious faith and belief, they gave Muslims the opportunity to remove their children and not participate in the curriculum, which I believe was a respectful thing to do.
I think it's absolutely absurd, depending on the degree. Now, initially it was the Somali Muslim community in St. Louis, which is, social engineering, just like in Minneapolis. You had the United States government place a great number of Somali refugees or Somali immigrants into both St. Louis and Minneapolis. And the group in St. Louis said, hey, we don't want our kids exposed to LGBT reading materials and LGBT-based lessons in tolerance. And they agreed, and it didn't just limit it, because it would be illegal to just limit it to Muslims. They said any parent at this point, but it was pushed by, but we do very clearly have 2 problems in America, right? We have a problem where we have some horrifying books that are hypersexualized, that are being placed in elementary, middle school, and high school libraries that are inappropriate, that talk about very, very advanced sexual stuff, especially for 12, 13-year-old kids to see. But on the flip side, we also have a tidal wave of intolerance driven by conservatives and driven by Islamists towards
not
the
conservative Christians? Not Christians?
I said conservatives. I was talking about conservative Christians.
Okay, because mention Christians too.
Right, but I mean, we can admit that the Islamic world is far more intolerant of gays than anywhere else.
When it comes to LGBT
you mean
curriculums,
where they're lighting them on fire and throwing them off buildings and putting them in
curriculums
cages?
in America being taught in America's public
let's
school,
talk about this,
especially to little children. White Christian families object to it also.
Talk about
millions of white Christian families object. Millions of white Christian families object to that in America also.
Right.
So it's not just a Muslim thing.
Absolutely
Millions of Jewish families
there are
also.
Plenty of homophobic Christians, right? But that homophobia typically doesn't go to the extremes that you find in the Islamic world.
Says who?
You've seen that says everybody. Why are you lying? It is illegal, punishable by death.
Timothy McVeigh
it is punishable,
a Christian?
It is punishable.
Was the Oklahoma bomber who killed hundreds of people a white Christian?
Oh, actually, he didn't use his Christian faith to justify his terror.
Oh, no. He claimed to be a white Christian.
No. But anyhow.
And he was a part of a white Christian identity militia.
I'm talking about governments. I'm talking about how in the Islamist world it's illegal to be gay and it's punishable by death in the majority of the Islamist nations.
Charles,
and that's insane.
In Africa.
And hold on.
In Africa.
I love how you interrupt me whenever you want. Go ahead.
There's some African countries that are not Muslim-led governments who object to same-sex marriages and the LGBT doctrine also. And these are African Christian countries, not Muslim.
Okay, can I finish my sentence now? Okay, the truth is that, so speaking of social engineering, we've seen this mass migration to Western Europe. And for years, the country of Sweden, formerly the safest country in the world, had an unbelievable rape epidemic that was tied solely to male Muslim immigrants, right? And the media tried to cover it up, and the government tried to cover it up. And you've seen this issue all across Europe, right? And you see it in Islamist nations, which is just, usually the basis for forcing women to wear the hijab, to cover their hair. And we have a lot of countries where if a woman is raped, she's considered a criminal, right? And it's absolutely insane. And we can't say, hey, we're going to have special rules for Muslims that we would deny, because I promise you they'd have denied it for Christians if Christians asked.
Because Christians
to
accept
encourage
and
not all
tolerate
Christians,
behavior
not
that
all
Muslims
Christians.
will not.
Okay, but
Muslims
hey, in
are
America,
better united
we should be
when it comes to
teaching
their
people
religion
not
and
to
defending
hate
and
based
protecting
on their
religion.
orientation. We
So,
should be
let me ask you a
teaching
question.
people not to be
When
hate
the
mongers.
Bible says God speaks and God says it is an abomination, was God wrong?
Absolutely.
Oh, man, I'm
Okay.
done.
Absolutely.
I'm done, bruh.
Because
I'm
the
done,
thing
man.
is, if you look at the Old Testament,
You just sat here and said God was wrong.
Okay, you gonna let me speak, or you gonna keep on
Man,
with
you
your
don't deserve to
nonsense?
talk anymore after that one.
Okay, the truth is that if you look at the Old Testament and you look at the incredible, crazy number of things they prohibit, if you look at the Quran, which has never been updated with a New Testament version of the Quran,
It's never been tampered
right?
with, never been altered,
you
never been
see
changed.
Crazy, horrible stuff that is sanctioned, and you see normal stuff that is prohibited. But the truth is that we need to accept, irrespective of religion, that being gay is a regular, normal thing for human beings
But God
to be.
said it is not.
And, okay.
But
which
God
God?
said it was
Which
not.
God? Did he say
The
it to
God
you?
of your Bible.
Did he say it to you?
The God of your Bible.
Did he say it to you?
In his writings.
Did he say
in his
it to
written
you?
word,
So
he said it was
you
not.
don't think,
Even the prophets in the
so
Bible
you don't
says
think,
it was
I
not
love
an
how you
approved lifestyle.
pick and choose. So how about those Christian religions, like Episcopalian, that are accepting of their homosexual members? Are they wrong?
Because they're following political correctness, not biblical correctness.
Okay.
They're
How
following
about-
politics.
How about we follow what our country was based on, which was not religion, but it was based on individual liberty.
But it
And
was
at the
founded
beginning-
with Christian principles,
No, actually,
Charles.
it wasn't.
The
In fact,
Constitution
most
of
our
America was inspired by Christian principles.
We didn't add under God. We didn't add language about God to money or to the Pledge of Allegiance until last century. The truth is that most of our founding fathers were deists, right? Most of our founding fathers
they were criminals
did not accept,
and slave owners and crooks themselves. I agree
Okay.
with that.
I
But the
didn't say- I didn't
Constitution
say
still
any of
had
that.
Christian
I said
principles
most
to
of
it.
them were deists, right? Which they accepted a view that it worked in Christianity, but for the most part was very accepting. That's why most people fled to America, the early settlers in the original 13 colonies, is because they were seeking religious freedom. Jewish settlers, Protestant settlers, Puritan settlers, they were all looking to escape mandatory religion of the countries they're in and religious persecution. At the end of the day, we are very clear. In the First Amendment, in the Bill of Rights, we have an anti-establishment clause. And we don't let religion direct stuff. Well, I
Charles,
don't think kids
as
should be
Muslims,
exposed to...
we have a right to opt
You
out
know
of
what?
that.
You don't have a right.
We have a constitutional
You don't
protection
have a right. You don't put your kids in
for
private
the
schools.
government not to infringe upon our
kids
beliefs.
in those hate-mongering private schools that, like
So,
you,
Charles,
hate Jews and
but
hate
yet
Christians,
tell
except when it's
Muslims
convenient.
to still pay school taxes.
Hey,
Still pay school taxes,
yeah.
but put your kids in private
I
school.
don't think you should decide that you can raise your kids to be
Well,
intolerant.
then let Muslim
you know what?
families keep their tax
so
dollars.
you think racist white parents should be able to say, hey, no Black History Month for my kid?
If they can show me in the Bible where it's
Oh,
approved
so
and
just the
corrected,
Bible.
we can
Okay?
talk about
because
that.
I'll tell you what, the Aryan
We can talk about
Brotherhood,
that.
the Aryan Brotherhood uses the Bible to justify their
And
racism.
they backwards as hell.
Right? Okay,
Because
so they're
the Aryan
backwards,
Brotherhood
but they do.
can't uplift
But
Jesus,
they do.
and he was a black
they
man.
do. So if a racist says, hey, well, the Bible supports me not learning Black History
Well, bring
Month,
the Bible out.
Should they just not?
Let's debate it.
So,
Bring
you're
the
not-
Bible
you're
out.
not wanting to debate about the Muslims.
Bring the
saying,
Bible
you're
out.
saying all these Muslim kids, they don't need to learn tolerance. And that's
No.
insane.
Muslim
It's
children
the bigoted,
should not be forced
racist,
to listen
insanity,
and write book
homophobic
reports
bullcrap
on
that
an
you
LGBT
push all the
academic
time.
curriculum program.
Because you want to hate everybody,
Charles,
but then bitch about
Christians
people
want the
hating
same
you.
thing.
That's
Christians don't
hey,
want the same
hey,
thing.
You know what?
Christians
Here's the
don't
thing.
want to talk
We
to their
should-
kids
we,
also,
We should not
Charles.
be talking, we should not be sexualizing children. But we most certainly should be teaching children
And some of
that
these
it is
books
okay to be
are
different.
doing that, Charles.
And I'm against
Let
those
parents
books.
teach that.
I'm against the books. So you don't think there should be any sex ed in high school? None?
Look,
None? No. Let's
in
just-
high school, okay.
It's a bullcrap.
In high
This is-
school, not
this
elementary.
is your
Not
homophobia
elementary.
speaking, not
in high
your
school,
religion.
yes.
You
but
should
not
stop being
elementary,
such a hate
Charles. Not
monger.
elementary, Charles.
Are
Down.
lying through
You're
your teeth.
dead wrong.
They have
Black male
skyrocketed
participation
because they have
in these Ivy League
completely
schools have
different-
gone down.
They have completely
That's a
different
damn lie, Charles.
Completely different
Black
entrance
male
requirements.
participation
No.
has gone
You know
down
what? You
in
know
Ivy
what?
League
You know what?
programs.
this round. Here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Quanell, the purple state of Wisconsin has taken the first steps to abolishing bigoted DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion programs that push Asian and white students and job applicants to the back of the line, right? We have had a time in America where affirmative action was very important to overcome the exclusion of black Americans from consideration for hiring and promotion and acceptance into schools that for a long time had horribly racist policies. Well, a lot of affirmative action, most of it began in the 70s. Now we are 50 years later, it has gone to the point where people are actually refusing to consider cisgendered or straight white applicants for all kinds of things, whether it's education, whether it's jobs. And what the purple state is doing, the Assembly and the legislature, the Senate, they realize that they have a Democrat governor who would veto it. So the Senate has approved it. Next session it'll go to the legislature. If they approve it, then it goes back to the Senate. Then it goes to the people of Wisconsin. And basically the argument is we will not allow discrimination of anyone based on race or sexual orientation. I personally think it's a good thing. I'd love to hear why you think it's a bad thing.
Charles, I believe it's a bad thing because the spirit and the motivation behind doing this.
How do you know the spirit or motivation? How do you know that?
And let me say this, Charles.
Okay.
To the African American community, we should not be bent out of shape about this. Because you're right, 50 years later, since the 70s, affirmative action was designed and implemented and put in place because of the lives of black people who were given, who were lynched, who were murdered, who protested, who marched with Dr. King and other black leaders to bring forth the 1964 civil rights legislation. But affirmative action born out of that never truly benefited the masses of black people. A few select black individuals got preferential treatment at some schools, universities, and employment. But the masses of black people suffered in this nation. And so what we have to do as black people is be honest. Affirmative action, when we fought for it, didn't include everybody else. It was all about us at that time, and Indians. Well, guess what? Everybody's included now as a quote-unquote minority in DEI programs, etc. We as black folks should advocate for reparations for us, not fight for these affirmative action programs. Fight for it for us. And I find it very ironic. Well, white people don't have a problem saying we don't want DEI included. Let me say this.
Talk about white people.
Let me say this. I have a problem with these white leaders, political leaders, who have a problem with black students getting preferential treatment to get academic access to a university. But they don't want DEI when it comes to the football program, the basketball program. See, when we can make money for you in sporting events, oh, you want affirmative action inclusion for black folks then. But when it comes to academic excellence and academic access, you don't want us. So, Charles, we as black folks should say to hell with this. Keep affirmative action. Pay us reparations.
Okay, firstly, you make stupid arguments, but I think that might be the stupidest. In fact, sports is the ultimate remaining meritocracy, right? In fact, it has nothing to do with affirmative action. When you have the best athletes, a coach is looking for the best players to put on the field, irrespective of their skin color, right? Now, African American athletes obviously seem to dominate basketball and football, and you know what? They dominate it in disproportionate numbers from their population in society because many of them are the best at it, right? It's just like
because we were bred differently.
Okay.
We were physically and genetically bred differently.
Right now.
No, the slave owners bred us differently. The breeding programs of the plantation bred black people physically differently on purpose.
Again, your best two basketball players in the world right now, Luka, I mean, you got two white guys. But for the most part,
better than
the
who?
league.
Luka better than who?
Oh, come on.
The Greek freak?
Yeah, come on.
Stop it.
Come on.
Luka better than LeBron?
Why don't you talk about
Stop
the Nuggets?
it.
Why don't you talk about the Serbia?
Jokic?
Jokic should have won three in a row.
He's better than a healthy 76er center.
Because it's not defined by skin. That MVP was robbed from Jokic. It's not defined by skin color, right? It's defined by talent. So your analogy to sports is just, it doesn't make any damn sense.
No, what I'm saying is they have no problem including us in the sporting programs, but not the classroom.
The truth is that if you look at any Ivy League school, they're all very proud to announce that they're majority minority, which means they're actively discriminating against white applicants, and they're also
But they got majority black folk.
crazily discriminating against Asian athletes. And another truth about the Ivy
And
League.
black numbers have gone down at
other
these
truth,
Ivy League schools.
That's not true at all.
That is absolutely true.
Absolutely, you're
Black
lying through
male,
your teeth.
black male
You're
participation
lying
at
through
Ivy League
your
programs
teeth.
have gone
You're
down.
lying through your
You're dead
teeth.
wrong.
They have
Black male
skyrocketed
participation
because they have
in these Ivy League
completely
schools have gone down.
They have completely
That's a
different
damn lie, Charles.
completely different
Black
entrance
male
requirements.
participation
No.
has gone
You know
down
what? You
in
know what-
Ivy League
you know
programs.
What has gone down? What has gone down?
Even Dr. Cornel West said
you know what
that.
has gone down is
Who was a professor at
you're
Harvard
lying-
University.
He's not a professor. He left Harvard.
He was a professor
right, I
at
know.
Harvard
I was in his
University.
class when he quit.
Brilliant
I know
man.
who he is.
Brilliant
right?
man.
But the truth is that we have different interest requirements, and in America that should not exist. Right? You should have.
But that's what
merit.
America was
You
founded
should-
on.
well, but it's now.
America
At what
was founded
point
on.
do we evolve?
Let me tell you the
At what
point.
point
Let me tell
do
you
we
the
get
point.
to the point
Let
where
me tell you
we
the point.
follow Dr. King's instructions
tell you when.
by judging people
I'll tell you
based
when.
on their character,
I'll tell you
not
when.
the color of their skin?
You want to know when?
Sure.
We gave white folks a 365-year jump.
You ain't never given.
Give us that same
you
jump.
know what? You ain't,
Give black people that
See,
same
that's all fake. That's the
365-year
whole
jump
bull
that
crap.
white folk got in
You talk
America.
about white people as if they
Uh-uh,
all have the
Charles.
same.
White people
Oh, you
got
gotta
a
rub me, go ahead.
365-year jump
No,
in
they
America
didn't.
on black people.
You are a
300 years of slavery, another 48 years of Jim Crow legislation segregation, and then we went through the civil rights movement for another 20 years. You got a 368-year jump on black people.
Okay, what you're talking
Give
about.
us that same gap.
What you're talking about.
Make
is
that
you're-
jump equal.
You are speaking about the black existence and the white existence, if they're holistic groups that have the same experiences. As if all white people somehow grew up middle class, with money, with an intact family.
didn't say
Well,
that.
That's exactly what you're saying, and
That's
that's
not
what you
I'm
do
saying.
with your
I'm
bigotry
saying
all the time.
white folks got that jump
we are
for
all,
3 centuries
you know what?
and a
A
half.
bunch of them didn't. In fact, there
Well,
are more,
all black folk
there are
didn't get
more
it.
white people.
All black folk
there
didn't
are
get it.
more white people in intergenerational poverty in America in raw
Because
numbers
there are more
than
white
black
people in America.
Right, but there's still
Because there's more
but
white
so
people
their-
in America.
Their poverty and their hopelessness
But
doesn't
per
matter.
capita, but
In
per
fact,
capita,
their
you got
poverty
more
and their
indigenous
hopelessness-
Americans in
their
poverty than
and
anybody else.
hopelessness-
And how were they put
and
there?
Their poverty
And how did they get
hopelessness
there?
doesn't matter because you want all your decisions.
No,
You want to
Charles.
complain about people making race-based decisions.
No, Charles.
But all you want is race-based
White folks
decisions.
in America got a
What we need to do
368-year
is
jump
build
on black
the best
people, and now you wanna
America
holler about
for
equality?
everyone. You want to build
Now
the
you wanna
best
holler about
America.
equality?
Why must you?
The
cram
best America-
Why should solutions
the
be
best
race-based?
America-
Why not have a
Give black people justice.
Why not have? You know what? You
Give
don't
us
want
justice, then we'll talk
you
about
are
make it right.
Just want a race bait for your
No,
own
Charles.
pocketbook.
I'm sorry, Charles. No, sir.
now don't
Not gonna happen
apologize
like
to
that,
me.
Charles.
Stop.
Give black folks justice.
The people in
Well,
Texas,
let's
they need to
hold
know
the
the law.
cops more
If you
accountable.
are stealing stuff from
Let's
people at
hold the
night,
cops more
if you are
accountable.
stealing,
Let's demand better
man, you
policing.
know, you have
Demand
been a
better
police
policing.
defender for years. I've
not a
been.
police defender.
You were.
Defunding
I've been,
corrupt
I
cops.
have been.
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, a very interesting, tragic story coming out of Houston, where a homeowner felt he was forced to use deadly force to shoot a suspect who had stolen his barbecue pit. When I read the story, Charles, it's a real sad story because the homeowner, I believe, took it a little bit too far. I believe the homeowner could have did a better job of calling 911, staying on the phone with 911, and giving the police, the 911 dispatcher, the description of the suspect vehicle, because he was driving a vehicle, and just followed the vehicle. But the homeowner stopped the vehicle, cut it off, gets out of his vehicle and runs up to the car and then shoots in the vehicle, killing the man during this confrontation. Charles, I think that's not necessary. No human being's life is as cheap as a barbecue pit. You shouldn't be stealing people's belongings. You shouldn't be breaking into their property. I understand that. But I believe that human life is more sacred than a barbecue pit. I wish the homeowner had just stayed on the phone with 911, gave a description of the vehicle. He had already left the house, followed the vehicle, and let the police handle the situation, not kill a man for a barbecue pit.
Quanell, this is going to keep happening more and more in America because the truth is that you just can't call the police and expect them to come out anymore. The governmental response from the social justice movement of 2020 was just saying, hey, we're not going to police crime anymore. We're not going to protect victims. We're just not going to show up. We're not going to do our damn jobs. And we're going to call it reform. Now, I've been a long-time advocate for policing reform, and that should start with ending the drug war. But the truth is that if we abandon victims, if our law enforcement takes hours instead of minutes to come out, like I stopped a guy that had stolen a barbecue pit, and I think you have a mistaken belief about the cost of these. This is a guy who had a trailer-based barbecue pit that he would do, because I talked to him the next day, that he would take all over the place to engage in competitions. He would do it for fundraisers. It was his passion. And it was worth about $2,500. And he had no way, this was the guy that lived in South Houston, he didn't have a tremendous amount of money. It would have robbed this from him. He would no longer have this joy that he loved if we didn't get out there and catch the thieving bastards, right? Now cops, they don't show up. And I'll tell you, I got cop friends and I'll tell them to their damn face, right? And I know it's mostly administration, it's by design. But cops that took an oath are saying, oh yeah, America doesn't love us, we're not gonna do our jobs. And that's not all police, but it's way too many of them. And I called HPD over an active domestic disturbance in the street in front of my house. 2 hours later, they show up knocking on my door, want to know where they are. I said, you should have been here an hour and 55 damn minutes ago, right?
So what did you do about it?
Well, they walked off.
Oh, you didn't go out there and help that woman?
Actually, it was two people, I think of the same sex, I'm not sure. And they were arguing for a good hour.
You were homophobic that day.
I'm not going to play police, right? It's not my job. It was, it's literally not my job. But here, you have a guy that was forced to play police.
He wasn't forced.
He was forced,
No,
he could just let his trailer, his barbecue pit, get stolen.
Charles,
and you know what, in America, we don't have to let the criminals win. I know you've been on team criminal your whole damn life.
Barbecue pit
hey, guess what?
being pulled behind a vehicle.
Hey, guess what?
The homeowner is following the barbecue pit and following
into
the vehicle.
A trap?
He's on the phone.
Where's he going?
He didn't have to confront him.
Cops ain't going to show up?
Give description of the vehicle, license plate number, and just follow it from a distance. And you may follow the very location. I had a friend of mine, but don't confront
about 3 months ago,
and kill them.
I had a friend of mine 3 months ago who had his tools stolen out of the back of his truck in the parking lot of a hotel in Austin, Texas. But he had one of those Apple chip things in there, tracked it. He got behind it. It was a guy in a U-Haul truck that was just driving through parking lots, boosting stuff. He was behind him, had the truck in front of him, had the air tag, knew where it was. The Austin Police Department refused to come out. You are forcing people to engage in self-help. And I'll tell you, the people in Texas, they need to know the law. If you are stealing stuff from people at night, if you are stealing,
let's demand better policing.
You have been a police defender for years.
I'm not a police defender.
You were.
Defund the corrupt cops.
I have been demanding better
cops.
policing and offering solutions that have been ignored.
Better policing and stop funding some of these racist cops.
The only reason you bitch about cops is if you think you're going to make some money on the deal.
Charles, listen to me.
The truth is,
you don't make money when your clients go to court. When the police charge your clients and you represent them in court, you don't make money?
When I'm lawyering,
of course you make money.
You're just full
of crap. You're making money, but you don't want to blackmail to make a dime. Don't come to Houston.
Don't come to Texas, thieves. You're going to end up shot.
Don't kill folks for a barbecue pit.
Hey, I think it is a tragedy. I think it's horrible that someone lost their life over something as simple as a barbecue pit. But barbecue pits here in Houston, Texas are often worth many thousands of dollars. This is one that, it was stolen, and it was stolen for a reason, right? And you can't. Texas has its own set of laws about people trespassing and stealing your property at night and your right to use deadly force to protect your property. And that's just it. So maybe instead of taking the criminal side, people should tell criminals, you better think twice about committing crimes here. It's like in Florida, where you have criminals going up to New York, committing crimes where they know they won't get any damn trouble, and then coming back to Florida where they would face a real consequence. When we talk about the LGBT community or LGBT education in St. Louis, right, we shouldn't allow people's intolerance to not be challenged through education. We don't need to be teaching children hypersexualized stuff, but we definitely need to be educating people to be more tolerant and caring in this world.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this. The Muslims, you have a right to refuse to have your child or your children given an LGBT curriculum when the religion of Islam forbids us to participate in such. So are Christians in this country, millions of them who are silent out of fear, also don't want their children participating in such programs because they've been absolute proven fact that you can see on social media. Some of these curriculums are so graphic about male-on-male sex, it's pathetic. That's not something elementary school children should be learning. But I also believe that life is more sacred than a barbecue pit. If you are following the robber, the thief, follow him, give a description. Do as best as you possibly can to get the police there. If you got to sit there and wait it out, your life is more sacred and precious to confront someone who is stealing a barbecue pit or stealing from you, period. But I believe that once you kill a person with a barbecue pit, that life is gone. The barbecue pit can be replaced.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.